After a truly abysmal but not at all shocking result against Brentford on Saturday, we are back with more EFL Cup action as the Blues take on Lancashire side Blackburn Rovers under the lights at Stamford Bridge. But who will play and how do Chelsea win? Let's get to it. Lads, lasses and the rest of the masses, welcome back to the channel. I'm Mono from Mono TFC and welcome to the lead-in. Like always, I'm going to be predicting the lineups that I feel will play and show how I believe our team could set up tactically. So without further ado, let's firstly look at our opponents for this match. Blackburn are currently sitting in 12th in the championship table. 6 wins, 1 draw and 7 defeats see them sitting just 3 points away from the top 7. They have started the season very up and down, winning a few, losing a few, but never really getting into a good run of wins up until very recently, with their 3-game win streak over QPR, Cardiff and Millwall eventually being halted with a defeat in their last game to Swansea on Saturday. Unlike our last opponents, Chelsea have a lot of history with Blackburn, going all the way back to 1907, 2 years after the club was established. This eventually came to an end after Blackburn were relegated from the Premier League in 2012 and haven't been able to get back up since then. If you look at our recent history, you'll see that our last few matches against Blackburn have been mostly successes, with them coming during a period of Chelsea success as a whole. However, the last time these two sides met in the League Cup, Blackburn defeated the Blues. They'll be looking to do a repeat of that feat against the Chelsea side that hasn't been the greatest in recent times. So, how will they plan on trying to achieve that? Let's look at the team. Blackburn, managed by the second Dane we're facing in a row, John Dahl Thomason, usually play a form of 4-2-3-1, but in recent times the manager has been opting to play them in a formation that we've seen Pep Guardiola utilise in recent history, the 4-1-4-1. And this formation is where they got that good run of wins in, so I'd imagine they'd stick to it despite the aforementioned loss to Swansea. First up in goal, I'm going to be putting in Leopold Wahlstedt. Though there is a chance that their second choice keeper comes into this one for rotation, I just imagine that Blackburn are going to field a very strong 11 here because progressing in the Cup is so important for them as a lower league side. Thus, I'll stick with their number 1 for this one. For the back 4, I think this will be their standard 4 at the back, with James Hill starting at right back. He's a centre back by trade but has been playing as a right back for Blackburn for a few games in a row now, so I'd imagine he'd keep on as he has been. The centre back duo is harder to pick with them rotating a few times so far this season, but I'm going to stick with Hayden Carter in the right centre back role and Dominic Ham in the left centre back role, as he was rested for the Swansea game. Over on the left is going to be, as ever, Harry Pickering. Moving into the midfield, the lone 6 in the middle will be their number 6, Norwegian Sondre Tronstad. For the 4 in front of him, we'll start on the right hand side with Callum Britton. Next to him in the centre will be Joe Rankin Costello, alongside the danger man in my personal opinion, Sami Smodjic, who has already got 9 goals and assists in the league this season. Over on the left hand side will be Iceland native Arnór Sigurdsson. This leaves the final player up top trying to score the goals despite his woes so far this season will be 21-year-old Tyrese Dolan. Now, as I've said in the past, I'm going to be moving away from the tactical side of things in these previews and stick to putting that in my tactical breakdowns after games, and yes, there will be one this week as we don't have a game this weekend and I have time, so I'm not going to talk at length about Blackburn here, but I will point out a few things of note about them. Firstly, Blackburn are a side that usually dominate possession. Even against far better sides like Leicester, they still had a large portion of the ball and are pretty good once they have it. They've scored 20 goals in 14 games so far, which is the joint 5th highest in the league. Their defence isn't the greatest, but it isn't the worst either, 23 conceded in those 14 games, which is the 5th highest amount in the league once again. Blackburn and Chelsea kind of parallel in a way. They are both sides that get a lot of possession, create a lot of chances, but don't take a lot of those chances. In their 2 most recent losses to Coventry and Swansea, they came up against low blocks, didn't take their chances, then got smash and grabbed by 1 goal. Sounds familiar, right masses? In this game we know they won't get as much as the ball, but we need to be careful when they do have it, as their interplay is actually very good when it clicks, with balls in behind for runners either from the wide areas or from midfield being a rather potent weapon for them from what I've been able to watch. Unlike a lot of the smaller teams, they don't particularly look too big a threat from set pieces, so we shouldn't have to worry much about that. But one thing that they do have in their locker is a long throw. We know how dangerous these can be, so we should look to avoid giving away any silly throw-ins around our own box. Finally, I do just want to point out that Blackburn are a team that are better away from home than at Ewood Park, and with Stamford Bridge not being the fortress it used to be, they'll definitely have their tails up and think that they can get a result against us, so we shouldn't take them too lightly, especially if they play full strength like I believe they will. But as I said, I'd like to focus more on our own team from now on, so speaking of the Blues, let's talk about Chelsea. But real quick, if you're enjoying the content and want to see more, please consider subscribing to the channel. Cheers. Let's start with the formation. We know it's going to be 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1, but the interesting thing here is how many first teamers Pochettino decides to use. Obviously there will be some rotation, but as the EFL Cup is a trophy to be won, I'd imagine our team would be stronger than we'd probably expect. So first up in goal, I'm going to be putting in, finally, Djordje Petrovic. There is no better time to give this man some minutes, and I am looking forward to see how the Serbian gets on between the sticks. Hopefully a clean sheet for him, and though I would prefer Chelsea to have no issues at the back, I'd love to see him get the opportunity to show his shot stopping in this one. Alright, quick editor's note here, I'm just adding this in post. I recorded this episode before the presser, so I didn't know about James definitely starting, and I didn't know about Benoit Badiashile possibly starting as well. So take that with a pinch of salt before you go into the comments and say that, oh, James is starting, because I know loads of people will do that. So yeah, cool. Anyway, back to the video. For the back four, I'm going to rotate some things around. With him being unused in the previous game, I'd suspect that Malo Gusto will play the full 90 in this one. James will likely still be eased in, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Gusto shift over to left back or see James in right mid when he comes off the bench for some reintroductory minutes. For the two centre-backs, I'm going to be resting the ageing legs of Thiago Silva and moving Axel Disasi into right centre-back, with Levi Colwill continuing at left centre-back. There is definitely a possibility of Benoit Badiashile playing here, but not from the start I don't think. I'd expect him to get a few minutes off of the bench as he's eased back into the first team. Another option is Alfie Gilchrist from the youth team, who was pictured in training, but I'm choosing the safer option for now. Over at left back, I'm going to be sticking with Marc Cucurella. I don't think he's done anything wrong particularly in his recent return to the side, and with no other options in the side other than Colwill, I don't foresee him losing his place. Moving into the midfield, this will be a bit of an odd combination. Leslie Ugochukwu will 100% start here. He's had to be patient with him being firmly down in the pecking order, but it's games like this where he can come in and flourish. Next to him, I'm going to be putting in Conor Gallagher to captain the side. Enzo is still out because of he and his partner having another child, congratulations to the pair of them, so he won't feature here, and out of Caicedo and Gallagher, Caicedo is the one that needs rest more, I would say. In the more advanced position, I'm going to be putting Cole Palmer. We are limited in terms of midfield options, and I think Cole can easily come more central as an attacking mid, or more right-sided with he and Connor pushing up higher with Leslie in the deeper role. The three up top will be changed, I feel, but I'm going to be keeping Noni Madueke in at right wing. Mudryk is still out, and after the amount of chances he missed, I don't want to see Sterling feature as he's far too inconsistent, so I'll go with the ex-PSV man here. On the opposite side, I'm going to be putting in Ian Martson. He played on this side a few times in pre-season and looked really good, and as he got a few minutes last match, I think that was in preparation for him coming into the starting 11 for this game. Likewise, I think because of his small cameo against Brentford, David Washington should lead the line against Blackburn in my opinion. Though I feel this could be an opportunity for Jackson to get on the scoresheet against a weaker side and bump his confidence up, sometimes you have to give the youth players a chance to impress, and who knows, maybe if he performs really well, we'll have another solid option in the striker position, which is our main issue in the side. Now I'm going to break down how I think we should play in order to get a result against Blackburn, but before I do so, it's time for the question of the day. As always, I'm going to highlight some of the comments from the last video, so here are a few responses to the last question of the day. Thanks guys for your continued support as ever. If you want your comment to be featured in the next video, leave your answer to this video's question of the day down below with QOTD at the start as always. So for this week's question of the day, we'll go for this. Do you still think Pochettino is the right man for the job or not, and why? Alright, so how will we play? Well, I don't think this game will be as frustrating as our last few. Blackburn are a side that either wins or loses. They don't draw many games, and that's because quite simply their defence isn't good enough to hang on to games, and their attack isn't potent enough to get back into games once they are behind. I'm going to point out what I believe are our keys to success here. Firstly, we must keep possession and use it efficiently. We can't be sloppy on the ball, as Blackburn have shown that they are able to be dangerous on the transition, with those previously mentioned runners in behind and long passes. We don't want to be caught out like we were against Brentford. Likewise though, Blackburn have also shown that they suffer against low blocks and compact teams, and getting hit on the break. I fully believe if we can get an early goal, Blackburn simply won't be able to get back into the game. Their finishing, like ours in truth, has not been good enough so far this season, and against a much stronger defence than they are used to, I don't see them breaking through us, especially if they go a goal down. But for the most part, it's going to be us trying to break through them, and we can see from the formation that they play that this won't be an easy feat. This formation has a good balance between central solidity and support out wide, so it will be difficult to play through both. But, like any formation, there is a weakness that we can try to exploit. This 4-1-4-1 will likely change into a 4-5-1 in defence, with the one striker being left up top. What this does is cut off passing lanes in the midfield so our striker is very isolated and can't receive the ball. Out wide there is enough support to create 2v2s against our winger and fullback, so it seems as if this is an impenetrable fortress. But there are two solutions to this problem, and both are simply down to player quality. If our wingers can beat their men and get to the byline, or pull them out of position for a pass to an over/underlapping fullback, then we can bypass this wide area issue. The other way is solely down to our midfield creativity, and it's part of the reason I've put Cole Palmer here, because he's one of the only players in the side that can do what I'm about to suggest. Pinpoint, accurate, early balls into the box, into the path of runners from deep. Whether this is a winger, a fullback, or even the opposite centre mid pushing into the box, they need to make these runs and make themselves available for a lofted pass over the top. We saw this exact thing against Brentford, and it's how we created a lot of our chances. The chance for Cucurella, a lofted pass from Cole. Sterling's opportunity before he was somehow not given a penalty for a blatant push in the back, lofted pass once again. Our first real opportunity in that game, despite being on the transition, was again a lofted pass from Cole into the path of Sterling from a more central position, which unfortunately he wasn't able to get on the end of. It's no secret that we struggle against low blocks, so it's going to come as no surprise to you guys that I'm once again going to suggest we be pragmatic when we have the opportunity, and break quickly once we win the ball back. Blackburn love to use the ball, and there definitely will be times and moments in this game where they will get to try and do that. We need to punish them for daring to try and play football against us, unlike we did against Brentford. We will create plenty of opportunities in this game, we just need to take them. Our finishing has been woeful this season, and that needs to improve because we cannot stand there and get embarrassed by a mid-table championship side. I said the last game should have been a guaranteed Chelsea win, but this one really should be. There is absolutely no excuse for not winning this game, especially with what's at stake. The remaining teams in this competition are all very beatable, and this is the best chance we have at silverware this season. We must not pass this opportunity up. A win here will send us through to the next round and into the last 8, one step closer to Pochettino's first trophy in English football. For a score prediction, I'm going to predict a Chelsea win, though with our current form I wouldn't be surprised if the result is different. So I'll say that Chelsea will beat Blackburn by 3-0. I'm going to say that our goals will come from Noni Madueke, Axel Disasi with a header from a corner, and David Washington with his first goal for the club in his first start. But that was just my lead-in match preview for Chelsea vs Blackburn. Thank you ever so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts on these possible lineups in the comment section below, and if you'd be so kind, subscribe to the channel and leave the video a like if you enjoyed. Don't forget to tap the notification bell so you never miss a video from me, or check out some of the other videos on the channel on screen right now. I've been Mono from Mono CFC, and remember, in the rain or in the dry, keep that blue flag flying high. Come on, you Blues.